When the police and FBI started looking into the mysterious deaths of famous actor Gene Hackman and his wife, no one could have imagined that the truth would be so much more shocking than anyone had thought. Recently, investigators decided to rip up Hackman's old flooring, and what they found underneath left them all speechless. These clues could change the whole story, and you won't believe what they found. Watch this video to find out the truth. Gene Hackman's house in Santa Fe. Hackman's first meeting with Santa Fe happened while working on film projects in the area, and it left him feeling like there was something magical about the place. This feeling led him and his wife Betsy R. Awawa to look for a permanent home there. They bought a house that needed a lot of work, and with the help of the local firm Studio Architecture Hackman, they turned it into a space that reflected his unique vision by combining Southwestern architectural elements with personal touches. His new home was on top of High Hill SP and covered 12 acres with trees. There were palm trees just a few miles from Santa Fe, and the view went all the way to the Colorado mountains. He was drawn to Santa Fe after working on several movies in the area and felt a certain magic in the place. He said he bought the property because of its location and later asked Santa Fe architects Harry Dapple and Stephen Samuelson of Studio Architecture to help him turn the house into the personal space he had imagined. The house was in terrible shape at the time. Samuelson said the building was made of concrete and was from the 1950s. It had been abandoned and was falling apart, but it was in a great spot and the foundation was firmly on the ground. Hackman and Betsy Arakawa, who shared the home, didn't want to recreate traditional Pueblo architecture. Instead, they wanted space, natural light, and an open floor plan with French windows, which are hard to achieve in traditional adobe design. As a result, the house was a mix of styles, with elements of Pueblo, colonial New Mexico, and Spanish Baroque. The house isn't really in any one style, Samuelson said. It has a raw quality, almost like a barn that was turned into a home. It's both big and cozy at the same time. To make it feel bigger, 90% of the roof was taken off, letting the ceilings rise up to 20 feet in some places. The interior spaces were rethought, and walls were torn down to make Hackman's dream of large, open rooms come true. 3 small rooms were combined into the heart of the home, a huge living area with original tree trunk columns. Hackman shared, "I wanted a large room with the feel of a great hall with other rooms opening off of it, without being separated by too many walls. It's completely different from my other homes. My Monterey house is much more formal." Hackman brought what he called a cinematic illusion to his living space by talking about how the interiors were designed. He wanted the home to have the sophistication of a place like a hotel. "The house is new, but we tried to make it feel like it had been here for at least 100 years, he said. "Plastering is great, but I wanted water stains as if there had been leaks over the years," he said. "I wanted some of the plaster to be darkened, as if it had been stained by smoke." He admitted that he had to do a lot of convincing with the plasterers because this is exactly what he wanted, but the result was walls that subtly changed color. In the entryway, for example, a rich teal fades into a soft brown, creating a seamless color bridge between the outside and inside. In the same way, the new ceiling beams were reused, beaten with chains and painted and stripped over and over to give them layers of aged patina. Hackman also wanted stamped tin ceilings in some rooms of the house, but he couldn't find any patterns that he liked, so he had a local manufacturer make them for him. Hackman was involved in every part of the house. He chose the floor plan, told the architects about every detail in the kitchen, and even helped with the demolition. He was such a talented painter that he would sometimes mix colors on his palette to show the workers exactly what he wanted. Even though he was on set for most of the construction period, Hackman stayed involved in every part of the project. He was a very involved client who was also very artistic. Sam Son was very detailed and said we had to call and send sketches all the time, or else a few days later we'd get a call from Gene Hackman saying, "Hello, this is Gene Hackman, do you remember me?" Betsy Arakawa was also often at the construction site, consulting with Hackman over the phone and sending pictures of the work that was being done. When it came time to decorate the house, they didn't want to stick to a pure Santa Fe style. Hackman explained that they bought some things in Santa Fe and others from auctions. "Betsy and I found an antique store in Germany that was a beautiful mix of soft Southwestern-style pieces and sharp-edged antiques." The newly bought items and furniture from Hackman's Monterey home were mixed by Santa Fe designers Ken Figueroa and Glenn Gomez, who the couple called their interior design partners. The soft colors and lines of Santa and the traditionalism of European antiques were linked by large, colorful accessories that were the same size as the pieces in their architecture. There was no attempt to turn the house into a museum of New Mexico art and craftsmanship. Some of the best pieces came from Morocco, like SP racks, painted with intricate designs that looked like mosaic paintings. If you want to know what really happened and learn the shocking details of this investigation, Don't forget to like, subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our videos. Let us know what you think about the FBI's findings in the comments below. Hackman's house was meant to be a retreat for short periods of time, maybe 2 months at a time, when he wasn't working on film sets. During these times, the focus was on comfort and tranquility, without guests or constant parties. If Hackman wanted to paint, he could drive his truck to the mountains and bring oil paintings and canvases with him. If not, he would spend hours reading books and listening to music in the living room while watching the colors of the desert change. After retiring from acting in 2004, Hackman lived a simple and creative life. He painted and wrote all the time, drawing inspiration from his peaceful surroundings. His daily routine included morning walks, working on his art in the studio, and spending time with Betsy in the evenings, enjoying the peaceful atmosphere in their home. Hackman's home was his sanctuary, keeping him away from the public eye and letting him pursue his personal passions without being interrupted. Hackman kept in touch with the local community, even though he lived alone. He was sometimes seen at local events and supported regional arts initiatives, which showed how much he valued Santa Fe's rich culture. However, he was very private and kept his home as a holy space, away from the loud world of entertainment. Gene Hackman's married life. Gene Hackman, one of Hollywood's most famous actors, had a personal life full of love problems and eventual marriage. Redemption. He was married twice, first to Faye Malles and then to Betsy Arakawa. His marriage journey shows the sacrifices and challenges that come with being an actor. His first marriage ended in heartbreak, but his second marriage brought him peace and stability. Hackman met Faye Malles in the early 1950s when he was still an aspiring actor who was struggling to make ends meet. He hadn't made it big in Hollywood yet and had to do odd jobs to make ends meet. Faye, who was a secretary, saw something special in him even though he was having a hard time with money. They fell in love and got married in 1956. They started over, moving from one small apartment to another as Hackman worked hard to make a name for himself in the movie business. In the early years of their marriage, money was tight and Hackman often wondered if he would ever be successful. Faye stood by him, giving him emotional and financial support as he went to auditions and took on small roles to make ends meet. Hackman, who was in his 50s at the time, fell in love with classical pianist Betsy Arakawa. They met in the early 1980s when she worked at a fitness center in Los Angeles. Hackman was drawn to Betsy's intelligence, kindness and love of music. Their relationship grew slowly, and by 1991 they were married. Unlike his first marriage, which was rocky with career problems and divorce, Hackman's second marriage brought him peace and stability. By that time he had become a big star in Hollywood and didn't need to prove anything. In contrast to his first marriage, which was tense because of his fame, Hackman's second marriage did well in private. The couple stayed together for over 30 years, with Betsy providing the emotional support. By that time, Hackman had already achieved great success in Hollywood and did not need to prove himself anymore. In contrast to his first marriage, which was tense because of his fame, Gene and Betsy built a peaceful life away from Hollywood, settling in Santa Fe. Hackman's second marriage did well in private. He and Betsy were together for more than 30 years, with Betsy giving Hackman the companionship and support he had lacked as a rising star. By the 1970s, Gene Hackman had become a Hollywood star, winning an Oscar for his role in The French Connection. But success came at a cost. Let's look at how Hackman's unwavering focus on his career in Hollywood hurt his relationship with his children, causing years of separation. Over the years, Hackman's relationship with his children has become more complicated. Hackman has always kept his personal life, including his children, private. In an interview in 1989, he told film critic John C. Tibbets that people were drawn to him because they could relate to him as an ordinary man. He said, "I like to keep my personal life as normal as possible so that in art people can let go and reach out." Hackman also talked about his early career when he went on Larry King Live and the host asked him, "What were you doing before you became famous?" When asked how he handled going from having a mediocre career to becoming famous, Hackman said, "I didn't handle it very well. I took care of my family and they never had a problem." He also said, "I was so fascinated by old Hollywood and the mystery of it, even though I never took part in it. I was really enamored with being a part of it, and that I could be anyone and do anything I wanted." Hackman and Maltz had their first child, a son named Christopher Allen Hackman, in 1960. The two-time Oscar winner sat down with journalist Lita Powell Drake in February 1984. Drake asked Hackman about the movie and got it wrong when he said that he and his 20-year-old son would never hug each other again and instead shake hands. Hackman replied, "No, we still hug each other to this day, and I thank God for that." He also said, "I don't think there will ever be a time when we have to shake hands." This was a big challenge for me in the movie, because ignoring the needs of a child who needs to be hugged is one of the coldest things a person can do. In an interview in 2011, Hackman talked about being a dad. He was asked if he had any advice for his son, and he said, "I lost touch with my son about advice when he was young." He went on to say that it might have been because he was away so much making movies in locations when he needed help and direction. "It was hard for me to be away for 3 months and then come home and start giving him orders." Hackman also talked about his son's journey to becoming a writer, early career goals. In an interview with Empire magazine in January 2020, "I said that my son used to want to be an actor, and while he was in New York I wrote a few small monologues for him." He said, "I think that's where I started. I really liked it. Ideas kept coming to mind, so I wrote them down." Hackman and Maltz had their second child, a daughter named Elizabeth Jean Hackman, in August 1962. Not much is known about Elizabeth, because Hackman rarely talked about his family in interviews. He did tell a touching story about a tough time in his career in the 1970s and 1980s. "I had to borrow my daughter's car to go to auditions in Hollywood," he told Cigar Aficionado magazine in 2000. "I was barely scraping by, taking almost anything that was offered and trying to make it work." Elizabeth also went to a few events with her father, including the premiere of Superman in December 1978 at the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C., where he played the bad guy Lex Luthor. He said it was great to play Lex Luthor in Superman, like having a license to steal. Many years later, in October 1996, she was photographed at the premiere of Hackman's film The Chamber in Beverly Hills. She was there with her sister and stepmother Arakawa. Hackman and Maltz had their third child, a daughter named Leslie Ann Hackman, in October 1966. Like her siblings, not much is known about Hackman's youngest daughter. In 1984, journalist Bobby Wan talked to Hackman about the film Misunderstood, and asked if the film made Hackman replied that he felt more emotional as a father or as a son whose relationship with his own father was tense. He talked about his role in dealing with misunderstandings between father and child. "My youngest daughter watched the movie and was moved by it. I think she was moved because it was a film, not because I was in it. She liked it as a film and told her girlfriends about it. They're going to see the screening next week because she really liked it." Hackman rarely talked about his kids, but in an interview with the Irish Independent in August 2000, he said that they helped him decide to stay an actor instead of becoming a director. After buying the rights to Silence of the Lambs, he had planned to make his directorial debut, but he turned down the job instead, and he said he didn't regret it. He said, "I didn't think twice about that decision," and added, "My kids helped me see that it." He also said that being the child of a famous person was hard, saying that "I couldn't always be home with them because they grew up and lived in California." His children loved him very much and were shocked when they heard the sad news of his death. Gene Hackman and his wife Betsy Araki were found dead in their home in Santa Fe, New Mexico on February 26, 2025. Shocking the world and leaving everyone looking for answers, Hollywood legend Gene Hackman, his wife Betsy Arakiwa and one of their dogs were found dead in their 9,000-square-foot home in Santa Fe. The circumstances of their deaths are still unknown, and many questions have been raised about what really happened in their remote home. The couple was found when a maintenance worker who hadn't been able to reach them for days decided to check on them and saw Gene Hackman lying in a window, immediately called security, who then called emergency services. When police entered the house, they found Hackman and Arakiwa dead, along with one of their 3 dogs. The other 2 dogs were still alive, which added to the mystery and made everyone very worried. By the time police arrived, the bodies had already started to break down, showing that they had been dead for several days. Investigators think they died around February 17, 2025, 9 days before they were found. At first, police looked for signs of illegal entry, criminal activity, or external injuries on the bodies but found nothing. The house showed no signs of a fight and no valuables were missing. One important question that puzzled investigators was why neither Hackman nor Araki called for help. An autopsy showed that Hackman's heart had stopped on February 17, according to data from his pacemaker. But the cause of Araki's death was still unknown, because there were no immediate signs of injury or poisoning. Carbon monoxide poisoning was ruled out after tests came back negative, and there were no gas leaks in the house. As more information came out, experts and the public began to guess what might have happened. One popular theory is that Hackman, who had a history of heart disease, may have had a fatal heart attack and collapsed in the living room. Araki, upon discovering him, may have been shocked or under a lot of stress. Other experts say she may have suffered from broken bones. Takotsubo cardiomyopathy is a condition that can be caused by intense grief or trauma, and can cause severe heart irregularities leading to sudden death. If Araki found Hackman already dead, the shock could have caused her to have acute heart failure, making her unable to call for help. Another theory is that both people may have had an underlying medical condition that affected them both. Toxicology reports have not yet given a clear answer, but some people think they may have made a deal in case of a medical emergency, but they may not have called 911 for personal reasons. The case became even more complicated because of the condition of their bodies. The dry, hot environment in their home caused a natural mummification process that made it hard for forensic pathologists to figure out the exact time and cause of death. There are also questions about why their house was so isolated when it had security and staff, but no one checked on them sooner, which has led to speculation about their. Hackman had been living a more private life since he retired from acting in 2004. He wanted a quiet life away from Hollywood. Hackman and Arakiwa's sudden and mysterious deaths have shocked the entertainment industry. Gene Hack is remembered as one of the greatest actors of all time, famous for his powerful roles in movies like Unforgiven and The French Connection. Fellow actors and directors have paid tribute to him, though not well known in Hollywood. Clint Eastwood called him a close friend he will miss dearly, and Francis Ford Coppola remembered him as a true legend of cinema. Betsy Arakawa, on the other hand, was deeply respected by those who knew her. She was Hackman's devoted partner for many decades, and their relationship was seen as a rare example of lasting love in the entertainment industry. Fans and conspiracy theorists have flooded social media, with some speculating that there may be more to the story than what has been revealed. A lot of people think that there was foul play, even though officials have said that they don't think there was. The case is still being investigated, and toxicology reports and more forensic analysis are still being done. The most likely theory is that Hackman died of heart failure and then Arakawa died, possibly from stress. Many questions remain, like, why didn't they call for help? There may have been an unnoticed environmental factor in the house that caused them to pass away together, because they couldn't live without each other. The FBI is still investigating. As the world mourns the loss of a legendary actor and his beloved wife, the mystery surrounding their last days continues. Whether it was a heartbreaking coincidence or something more sinister, their story will be remembered as having one of the most interesting and tragic endings in Hollywood history. The FBI is taking apart the old floorboards from Gene Hackman's mansion. At a recent press conference, Santa Fe County Sheriff Daniel Morales addressed concerns about the investigation. "I'm not saying it's unusual, but it's not normal to find 2 dead bodies in a home," he told a crowd of reporters. "I'm not saying it's normal to find 2 dead bodies in a home." He also acknowledged the unusual circumstances of the case but kept specific findings from the FBI under wraps. "We are working closely with federal agencies to. At this point, I can't say anything specific about the details, but I can confirm that more investigations are being carried out inside the house." Sheriff Morales said that the investigations were being expanded. At first, officials were trying to figure out how Hackman and Arakawa died, but they still don't know the answers. Since there are no signs of external trauma, carbon monoxide poisoning, or criminal activity, investigators seem to be looking for answers in new areas. As news of the FBI's action spreads, rumors have started to grow. Some theorists say that Hackman, who has been living alone lately, may have kept a secret in his home. Is there a hidden room, a hidden safe, or even long-lost papers buried under the floor? Other theorists think that this investigation might have something to do with Hackman's past, even his successful career and relationships. There might be more to this story than meets the eye. Some online forums have even suggested that secret documents could hide assets or evidence from an old crime. While officials have declined to confirm these specific suggestions, forensic experts think that the FBI's search methods show that they are looking for more than just clues about the couple's deaths. Tearing up the floorboards is not usually done in death investigations unless there is a serious crime. There is reason to believe that something important is hidden beneath the possibilities. For example, there may be traces of criminal activity that were missed the first time around, or something may have happened in the house in the past. The floorboards may hold hidden forensic evidence. Older homes sometimes have secret compartments built into the floors and walls. Hackman may have hidden something. Hackman's family and close friends have stayed silent, adding to the rumors that something major is about to come out. FBI instead of just local police officers shows that federal investigators are very interested in this case. This makes people wonder what they might be looking for. For now, Hackman's estate is closed off while forensic teams continue their search. FBI officials have not given a timeline for their investigation, which has many people wondering if there are more shocking discoveries to come. Could Hackman's home hold a secret that could change the whole course of this case and, more importantly, what they might be looking for? What will the FBI find under the floorboards of Gene Hackman's famous estate? Hackman had a lot of health problems in his later years. He fought heart disease, had injuries, and got older naturally. One of the most well-known health battles Hackman fought was heart disease. In 1990, when he was 60 years old, He had a heart attack that made him rethink his lifestyle. It was a wake-up call that led him to start living a healthier life. Hackman made the hard decision to retire from acting completely in 2004. He never said that health problems were the only reason, but it was clear that his body needed rest. By this time, he had already undergone a number of medical treatments, including having a pacemaker put in to control his heart condition. As Hackman got older, he started to experience the physical effects of aging. Reports said he had trouble moving around and often needed help with daily tasks. Even though his physical condition kept him from going out in public, fans rarely saw him in the media in his later years because he liked living a quiet, isolated life in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Sometimes, the paparazzi were able to get pictures of him, showing an older man who had clearly slowed down but still did things in his own way, like cycling, gardening, and spending time with his wife Betsy Arakawa. In 2012, Hackman survived a serious bicycle accident in Florida, where a truck hit him while he was riding his bike, 82. This accident could have killed Hackman, but he miraculously recovered. It showed how strong he was, but it also made people worry about how vulnerable he was. Hackman lived into his 90s, even though he had many health problems. However, reports say that his health got worse in the years before he died in 2025. Close friends said he was weaker and had more trouble moving, but he was still mentally alert. Hackman and his wife were found dead in their home in February 2025. 2025. Many people wondered if his heart condition played a part in his death. His pacemaker confirmed that his heart had stopped beating on February 17, but the cause of death was still unknown. Some experts think that his wife, who was shocked when she found him unresponsive, may have died of heart failure from the stress. Gene Hackman was a fighter on screen and in real life. He had many health problems, but he lived a long and fulfilling life, and chose to spend his last years in peace away from Hollywood. Hackman's legacy as an actor lives on, and his strength in the face of health problems is also very admirable. The shocking results of the investigation suggest that we may only have scratched the surface of a deeper mystery. Were Hackman and his wife really victims of an accident, or are there strange revelations that the FBI is slowly revealing? This story will continue to make waves in the public for a long time. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to share your thoughts on what might be hidden under Gene Hackman's floor. Stay tuned and subscribe to make sure you don't miss any important news. See you in the next video.